These are the new metal releases for July 12th, 2024. I have 7 new albums to talk about. I have a wide variety of styles as usual, such as death metal, doom metal, industrial metal, heavy metal, thrash, pretty much all the basics. The first band I have is called Werewolves, and this is the name of the album, Die For Us. The band is from Melbourne, Australia. They're listed as a technical black/death metal band. I guess that's a good way to describe them. The band releases a lot of albums. I remember they released one last year called My Enemies Look and Sound Like Me. This is their 5th album, and they've only been active since 2019, so they average about 1 album per year. The music is very intense. I think lots of blast beats and tremolo picking, but also think chunky guitar riffs and death metal growls. The music is very angry and aggressive. Sometimes it sounds a lot like old school death metal. Other times it has a darker black metal sound. They have a song called Beaten Back to Life. This song is a play on the classic Cannibal Corpse album. This one's very intense, and the one thing I noticed is that the vocals are very harsh, but the lyrics are discernible if you listen closely. They also have these short sound bites between songs, and it helps differentiate the songs from one another. There was another song called My Hate Is Strong. This one had some different vocal styles, and it gave it a unique sound. This one also had a cool breakdown. Then there was another song called We All Deserve to Be Slaved, which had a technical death metal sound, and that reminded me of a band like Suffocation with that crunchy guitar tone, and later some riffs that sounded like thrash. Then there was a song called Under a Urinal Moon that had a slower, more dissonant sound, and later some chunky guitar riffs. Overall, the band is very consistent. I'll give this an 8.5 out of 10. If you like tech death and black metal, it's a little easier to digest, so I recommend you check them out. The next band I have is called Spiral Grave, and the name of the album is Ill Repute. This is a doom metal band from Maryland and Virginia in the US. They've been active since 2018. The band is more of a classic doom metal, similar to Pentagram and Saint Vitus, as opposed to newer doom metal bands. This is their 2nd full-length album. I also found it funny that this has a parental advisory sticker on the cover. I haven't seen one of them in a while. But if you read the lyrics, I mean, you'll know it was warranted. The opening track is called Watching from the Sky. It has more of a classic heavy metal sound with thick guitar riffs and galloping guitars. The bass guitar can be heard very well. The vocals are very epic sounding, and the solo is very melodic. They also have some cool psychedelic bass guitar sounds, such as the intro to Eulogy to Queen City. As well as some cleaner and more atmospheric sounds, such as the intro to My Angel Comes Tonight, that sounded a lot like modern Iron Maiden. Then there was a song Lungful of Blood that had these cool wah-wah effect guitars and thumping bass guitar sound. Then there was a title track called Ill Repute that had more of that classic sound with a heavy guitar riff. And there were some cool dissonant guitar riffs. Overall, not too bad. It has a cool throwback sound, some dark lyrics. I give it an 8 out of 10. I think if you like some of those dark and occult classic doom bands, you should check this out. Next is the band Project Silence with The Void. They are an industrial / melodic death metal / electronic band. So I know that's a weird combination, but something like the band Death, but with some more synthwave in their sound. I like this one a lot because it was unique. This band is from Finland. They've been active since 2008. They're unsigned, and this is the 3rd album. The opening track is called Rip the Flesh and has some intense blast beats, heavy riffs, some weird computerized sounding electronic sounds. And there was a song called Blood Moon, an instrumental that had more of a danceable beat and sounded a lot like electronic music. then it could also be heavy with the song Terminus, which had a lot of deep vocals and some computerized electronic sounds. This one had chunky guitar riffs as well. Then there was a song Cult, and this one was good because it seemed to have everything the band offers. It had the heavy, almost metalcore sounding riffs, the sound bites, the electronic sounds, some deep guttural death growls. But the best part was in the middle of the song when they had this thick deathcore style breakdown. Then there was a song Scorn that had a more of a typical industrial sound. Maybe like 9 Inch Nails mashed up with death metal vocals, and part of that sounds like it came out of like a horror movie. Overall, it was very different, so I'll add another half a point for originality. My score is an 8.5 out of 10. It might be my favorite of the week. I think if you're looking for something that sounds different than what usually comes out every weekend, you should give it a chance. Next is the band Against Evil with the album Give 'Em Hell. They are a heavy metal band from India. This is also the second band from India this month. They've been active since 2014. This is their third full-length album. The music and lyrics can be a little cheesy at times. They're kind of like Manowar meets Judas Priest, that kind of band. After a short intro track, they have the classic heavy metal, which is the title track, and this has some guitar riffs and deep heavy metal style vocals with some of those backing vocals. Then there's a song Lights Out with some more classic metal guitar riffs. This one has a slower pace and some cool bass guitar riffs mixed into the sound. Then there was a solo with a cool phase shifter sound. And they don't even hide the Judas Priest influence. This last song is called Killing Machine, but it was not a cover. It was a fun album, not original, but if you're someone like me who likes classic metal that doesn't try to be anything else, it was good. So my score is a 7.5 out of 10. If you like heavy metal that can be a little cheesy, it's worth checking out. Next is the thrash band Blood Feast with Infinite Evolution. I spoke a lot about thrash bands from the 80s that only released a few albums that have been coming back years later, and this one is one of them. They released 2 albums in the late 80s and a comeback in 2017. So it's their 4th full-length album. I don't really remember them from back in the day though, but maybe they didn't get a lot of recognition. The band is from New Jersey. They're more on the aggressive side of thrash metal, similar to Slayer or Creator. The album starts with an intro track. The album has a song called Ravaging the Loins of Mary, which is a weird song title, but that song is just some straightforward thrash metal. They have a longer song that has some different peaks and valleys called Eye of Glass. This one has everything you would want in thrash and even has some slower, like a crossover sounding part. Eye of Glass, you mean what they want, forever the fix. There's some stuff that's leaning towards death metal, such as the song Outbreak, which has some cool death metal style tremolo picked riffing and faster drum beats. And another song called The Preacher that had a sound that went from slow to fast and back again, and I thought it had more of a crossover sound. And the last song was The Chosen. This was some in-your-face thrash metal, technical riffing, lots of chugging, lots of gallops. Overall, some cool thrash metal with some cool death metal flavors in the mix. My score is an 8 out of 10. They are another thrash band from the 80s that has come out of their retirement. Next is Skelethal with the album Within Corrosive Corners. They are a death metal band from France. They've been active since 2012, and this is the 3rd album and first since 2020. They've been compared to that old school Swedish death metal sound, bands like Entombed. They seem to become a little more experimental in this album, or shall I say more of a progressive sound. The album starts with a 2-minute intro track and goes into the first song called Spectrum of Morbidity. Song takes off at breakneck speed with blast beats, death growls, and brutal guitar riffs. The vocals are low guttural vocals and has a spacey breakdown. After that, the song called Mesmerizing Flies at the Doors of Death. This one has a slower intro, but don't let that fool you into thinking it's some death doom because it gets much faster afterwards. You can also hear some dissonant and atmospheric sounds such as the song Eyes Sewn, Mouth Full. And even have some trippy parts such as the song Upon the Immemorial Ziggurat. And that song has a part with some tribal drums and psychedelic and atmospheric sounds. The last song is the title track. It's a 13-minute long instrumental, and this one goes through so many different phases, such as the slow building intro that goes into some fuzzy sounding guitar riffs, and this leads to an atmospheric section, and later some isolated guitar riffs like this. Overall, it's some awesome death metal that's not afraid to go in different directions. I'll give this an 8 out of 10. I think they're original, and they don't sound like every other band out there. The last one I have is Obscene with Agony and Wounds. They are a death metal band from Indianapolis, Indiana. They've been active since 2017. This is their third album. The band plays some OSDM, and I think it's a good comparison would be the band Obituary. It's basically a death metal album, but with some doom that comes up in the last song, which I'll get to in a minute. The opening track is the Cloverland Panopticon, has a slow intro, slowly builds up to some fast and furious death metal, and the song has different tempo changes, but it has some fast and heavy buzzsaw guitars. Then there was a song Breathe Decay, which has some more dissonant death metal that moves at breakneck speed. Then there was Riding Behind the Masses that had some evil voices and some slower rhythms. But some of this was just some classic OSDM, such as a song called Dressed in Corpses that had more of their typical sound. And the last song was the title track that was the only one that was much different than the others. It was an epic doom metal song that had some haunting piano in the intro, some slow and heavy death doom guitar riffs, then some of that haunting piano sounds mixed with a guitar solo. And they end with this either a Vincent Price or a Morgan Freeman type of voice, and it's kind of cool.
Life ever did exist is long since dead.
This one, it's good. It didn't have a lot of variety with the exception of the first track, but if you're someone who just likes your death metal the way they used to make it, it's not too bad. My score is a 7.5 out of 10. I think it would please those of you who like just straightforward death metal, lots of riffs, and that's really what you're going to get. That is all. Check out last week's episode of new metal releases from last weekend. Thanks for watching. Please like this video, hit the bell for notifications so you get updated every time I upload a video. I have videos on TikTok and I'm on Facebook, and I do some other stuff over there, so you can find me in the video description. And I'll see you in the next one.